Mikel Arteta has officially become the 10th longest serving manager in Premier League history. He's been at Arsenal for 5 years and 9 months, which has seen him overtake Sean Dyche's stint at Burnley. And in another 2 months, he will be the 8th longest serving manager. But in that time, he has won just the FA Cup with someone else's squad, which was over 5 years ago. Firstly, what do you make of that? What does that tell you about managers and their life expectancy now in the Premier League?
I think it's quite a poor indictment that he is, what do you say, 10th on the list.
Yeah.
And he's only been there 5.5 years. I mean, it's just the days of what we used to see back in the day, obviously the Brian Cloughs, how long he was there.
Fergie Wenger.
These guys, there for a long, even Moyes at Everton was there for a long time.
David Moyes is on the list, he's third, 11 years.
So I just think it's just a thing of the past now. Everyone wants new head coaches, new ideas, fresh ideas. I mean, if Pep decides to stay in this country for the foreseeable, then he could get up there to 15, 20 years, I believe. But no,
you think 15 or 20 years, Pep?
It depends how long he wants to stay. I'm guessing the way he's gone about his business, unless they completely fall off a cliff and they're always in the mix in terms of where they are now, they're not going to get rid of him, are they?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's almost earned the right to kind of stay there. So, but no, it was a tough start for him, Arteta, when he first got the job. I mean, I remember.
Remind me where Arsenal were at the time.
So when he took over, 8th.
I'm just going to have a sniff of my Vicks inhaler.
Right, so he was 8th. So the first couple of seasons, right, although he achieved great success early on when he won the FA Cup and the way he set the team up, really well played. They finished 8th. Then the following season, it was 8th. Then it was 5th, and that was the season where they were battling with Spurs, and they went to Spurs, and it almost fell apart when Holding got himself sent off after quite early, and it went downhill from there. Then it's been second. There is an FA Cup in there, as I said. He's had some big decisions to make as well. Of course, Emilio Martinez, he left at this point because he won the FA Cup. People forget that. He was the goalkeeper, and he was when I was thinking, well, when Leno gets fit, Martinez is better than him. But he opted to bring Leno back, send Martinez to Aston Villa, who's been a brilliant servant since then. Then he replaced Leno with Ramsdale. Then he's replaced Ramsdale with David Raya. So that was one decision. He got out Guendouzi, whose attitude was stinking. Like, obviously, was a real problem. Apparently, from what I've heard, I'm not obviously making these rumours up, but this is what I've heard, that his attitude was poor Guendouzi. So he obviously had to go. Then Aubameyang was the big one. He was the big one because he'd been Arsenal's top goal scorer. And I remember was it All or Nothing Arsenal, where Arteta says, listen, for the sake of the club, this needs to happen. And I can't remember who the two guys were at the time, quite high up at Arsenal. They were saying they don't think it's the right decision. They were like, remember when he left and they were like, no, I'm not sure this is right. But they did that for him. He had to get rid of Ozil, another top player, big personality. So he's had to make big decisions. And I think now he's finally, and yes, it's taken a while, but he's got Arsenal to a place now where there was almost no excuses. Because I think there was a point where the squad was set, but 1 or 2 injuries, we didn't have the depth. Then it was there's no centre forward. All those issues are now addressed because we're now hearing that Odegaard's out for a little bit of time. He's got an MCL injury, and I'm not panicking. There was a time I would have panicked, but now I'm not, because I'm thinking, well, you've got Eze who can step in there. Wanyeri, the emergence of Wanyeri. I know Madueke is out, but he
could come back in.
Do you know who you forget about? Even Gabriel Jesus. Like, he's not the answer.
Where is he? What's happening?
He's been injured, but he's just another body. So talk about depth.
Yeah.
So I like where Arsenal are now. Yes, of course, you're going to get some fans, maybe not as many Arsenal fans, but some saying, I would have liked to have won something, a biggie in terms of Champions League or Premier League, because they've got to a quarter-final, which they lost to Bayern Munich. The second leg didn't really show up. And then they gave it everything against PSG, but PSG were just too good last year in the semi-final. So I think he's done well. I think he's done a really good job from where Arsenal are. But now it's time to deliver.
Yeah. The question I'm going to ask you, Benny, and all our listeners out there, especially Arsenal fans, has he achieved enough in those 5 years and 9 months? And it's an interesting question, because if we get to just over 6 years and he's won either the Premier League or the Champions League, or both, obviously, the answer is without a doubt.
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then he hasn't.
It's a tough one.
It's a fine line we're treading.
Because you know why? This sounds bonkers, right? Because, yes, I would love him to have won something huge, right? But just say, for instance, Arsenal don't win the league this year and they lose on goal difference on the last game of the season and they get to like 95 points, right? And yes, I know he's not won its failure because he's not done it. And they lose on penalty shootout in the Champions League final.
Oh, my God. Funny. That would be a great week.
Right.
We'll have a party in the studio.
No, but that there would be like, how do you sack a manager? You
can't.
Do you know what I mean? But there will be some people out there that will go, well, he's failed. He can't get over the line.
What's interesting? I mean, it's a stick I beat you with a lot. Is the Arteta stick, right? And that's only because it's you, and your team's Arsenal, right? If you supported Villa, it'd be exactly the same.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, just for a moment, it pains me to say it. If you win the Premier League, would you say that from taking over an Arsenal side that was, bottom half of the top 10 to becoming Premier League champions in 5 years or 6 years, that's an unbelievable turnaround, isn't it?
It is as well. I remember Arsenal spent a lot of years in those times not in the Champions League. We had Peter Notice just before him as well, playing Europa League for a number of years. But if he was to turn it around and get Arsenal competing, which he's done the last 3 years, and they now at the end of it were to win the Premier League or the Champions League, you have to give him. You have to applaud him.
Well, the question I'm asking is has Arteta achieved enough in his 5 years and 9 months? I will say, my answer is all dependent on what happens this season.
There'll be some rival fans that will say no, he hasn't because he hasn't won anything.
Yeah, but if this season he does, he's won all that in 6 years. I think that's an unbelievable turnaround. Yeah. I really do.
Is there any comparison between Rúben Amorim and Mikel Arteta that is fair, do you think?
I don't think so. I think it's a little bit unfair to Mikel Arteta to say that he had a miserable time when he took over at Arsenal. If you actually look at the records in his first season at Arsenal, because he joined midway through the season, Arsenal ended up winning the FA Cup. They also won the Community Shield. I think in their second game with him in charge, they beat Manchester United. After a couple of months, they won back-to-back league games. After a year, Amorim hasn't won back-to-back league games. In his first 2 seasons, Arteta finished 8th, and then I think they finished second twice, and now they're top. Look at that. They never finished 15th under Mikel Arteta. Also, I think Mikel Arteta was far more flexible when it came to his tactics. And for what it's worth, I think he was better at dealing with the media than Rúben Amorim has been. So I think Jim Ratcliffe was being a little bit unfair to Arteta. And I'm sure if Arteta does read the quotes, he will probably be thinking, hey, why has Jim Ratcliffe dragged me into this? You know, things may have been not great when I started off at Arsenal, but I turned it around pretty quickly. Also, in the 6 years that Arteta has been in charge at Arsenal, I think the club's revenues, it's not down to him solely, but the revenues at Arsenal have gone up by 55%. In the same period at United, revenues have gone up just 5%.
What about Sir Alex Ferguson then? Are comparisons with his first few years justified?
Well, look, I'm old enough to remember Sir Alex Ferguson being appointed United manager. And I've got to say again, I'm not sure it's fair to bring Sir Alex Ferguson into this, because when he joined United, United were in trouble towards the bottom of the table. I think he joined in November '86. But in his first full season in charge, Manchester United actually finished second in the league table behind Liverpool. And OK, after that, they finished mid-table a couple of times. It did take him 6 full seasons before he won the title. But United hadn't won the title for something like 20 years when he took over. And he was under a lot of pressure, especially in 1990, when there were calls for him to be sacked. But United ended up winning the FA Cup that season. So I think it's perhaps fairer to compare Amorim to Ferguson rather than compare him to Arteta. But still, I think Sir Alex Ferguson, could you compare the way he dealt with the media to the way Amorim deals with the media? Could you compare the way he was flexible with his tactics to the way that Amorim sticks to his formation? Also, I remember back in the 80s under Sir Alex Ferguson, United may have been going through tough times, but they still had legendary United players like Brian Robson. And if you look around the squad at the moment, you've got to say, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson had much better players with more character, more personality, and players who understood what it meant to play for Manchester United, even though frequently results weren't that great.
And then what did you make of the comments that Manchester United would become the most profitable club in the world?
Again, I mean, it's all well and good being ambitious, but I think if you look at the figures, you would have to say it's difficult for United to achieve that. On the plus side, their most recent accounts, they had record revenues of £667 million. That means they're fourth in the list of the clubs worldwide with the highest revenues. United 667, Real Madrid 900 million. How are United going to catch Real Madrid? Well, they need to get back into the Champions League. United's pre-tax loss in their most recent accounts down from 131 million to 40 million. Over the past 3 years, United's losses before tax totaled £203 million. So it's difficult to see how United is suddenly going to become the most profitable club in the world. But Jim Ratcliffe has a plan. It is going to take time. And to be fair to him, he has put his money where his mouth is, because he's put in, I think, around £240 million of his own money into the club.